No, we won't. From the kitchen tables praying to the streets where justice cries, with a backbone to this nation, with conviction in our eyes. You remember who we are and the price of liberty. Like my head, but hope and courage. We defend what must stay free. This is where the healing starts. This is the revival. Hear the people come, standing tall. We will never fall. We rise again. Let's take out this world. This is the revival. No, we won't back down. No, we won't back down. Yeah, yeah. We are mothers, we are fathers, we are workers, we are grown, we are praying mixed with action, and we've waited far too long. This is love that fights for children. This is faith that never dies. This is a real human Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Revival of America podcast. This is Jenny. I'm the owner and the host of the Revival of America. I am back, everybody. I had to take a little bit of a vacay, so I am back. Glad to be with all of you guys today. So today we have Derek Johnson in the house, and for those of you that have been here with me before, we all know kind of how that goes. If we can get to some questions, everybody, we will. But Derek always does a great job with his presentations, and through the course of the presentation that he gives us, he always answers a lot of your questions. So I hope you guys sit back and enjoy and listen. I will tell you, I'm super proud of Derek. He's been going over to X Spaces, doing some X Spaces on his channel over there, his feed. And if you guys aren't watching those, check him out. He did one the other, I think it was last night. Did a great job. So super stoked for him and that he's doing that. But Derek is he's being very much vindicated, as many of us are. But Derek has been really drugged through the mud. God bless his heart. But he's always stood strong. He's stayed consistent. His messages never changed. So if you guys are not over here on X Live or Rumble, if you're not following, because I know over here on Telegram, obviously you are, but if you're not following over here on X Live and Rumble, please give him a follow because he is doing a great job. And really, guys, like I've always said, Derek's not reinventing the wheel. He is just putting it out there in layman's terms, easier for we the people to read through those executive orders, laws and orders, instead of going and looking them up. And because they can get pretty long and a little intense to read if you haven't tried to read one here and there. So anyway, definitely go check Derek out over on X. But yeah, I'm very proud of Derek. He's doing a great job, and again, he's always stayed consistent with his message. Also too, for everybody that is over on X Live, Rumble Live, if you have, well, psych, I'm getting you guys excited. No questions, because if we get to questions, we'll do questions. But you know how Derek kind of rolls, and like I said, he does a great job in his presentation throughout. He will answer probably a lot of your guys' questions. So real quickly, if you guys get a random message, somebody pretending to be me or any of my guests, please make sure you guys blog report them. Let me know and know that it's not myself or any of my guests. We will not randomly reach out to you and ask you about any crypto, financial advice or give you advice. Please block, guys, and report them, because these scams are really they're pretty sad out there, and they're getting more creative by the day. So please block, report them. Let me know so I can make sure they're not in any of my channels. Also, too, if you come into the podcast late, or if you want to listen to the replay, share it with a family or friend. Feel free to follow the podcast host or my social medias, which are iHeartRadio, Spotify, Anchor, Apple, Google, Breaker, PocketCast, Podbean, Riverside, Amazon Music. Social medias are Jenny Dreed Facebook, at Jenny_Dreed X, at JDreed Rumble, at JDreed True Social, at JDreed Instagram, The Revival of America right here on Telegram, and The Revival of America over on YouTube. And then last but certainly not least, if you have a story or a journey to tell, please feel free to send your story to troasubmissions@yahoo.com. Again, troasubmissions@yahoo.com. I will vet through the story, read them if I believe it's a legitimate story, because yes, guys, we get the scammers over there as well, giving me a fake story just to get on a podcast. So if I believe it's legitimate, I will reach back out to you via email. We'll get your voices, your story heard, because remember, everybody, it's your voice, your stories can help shape this new world that we're coming into. And I lied. This is last but not least, I promise. If you have a personal email for me asking, about Fields or John Baxter and stuff like that, email me at therevivalofamerica@yahoo.com. And without further ado, as SG Anon always says, I want to welcome our special guest, good friend of mine, Derek Johnson. How are you, my friend? I see you
I'm
today.
doing all right.
I was just giving you all kinds of kudos. You did a space yesterday over on X, and I'm super proud of you that you're starting to do those. You did a great job. A lot of people messaged me and said you did a great job, and good job. Congratulations on that. You're doing a good job.
Oh well, I just forget about certain apps I have sometimes. I just tend to do a Facebook and take it and rip it and put it on Rumble. So, but um, I just wish I could do them all at once and then that way. But anyway, so I just found out a way to do it all at once. But
Oh,
anyway,
you did find a way to do it all at once, where you're on Facebook, X, and all of that at the same time.
I just I just put my phone up and just go live on X. I mean, everybody's out there with these fancy things, and to get to the American public, you can't be fancy, man. You got to be like, hey, look, hey, I'm
Gotta be a
prop
little
this phone
ghetto.
up this way. You got to prop stuff up. The fancy backgrounds, that's cool if you got it, but it's like a lot of people are just like, man, look, this dude is like. There were times I would be in my truck and had to put my nightlight on, and so
I
that,
love it.
you know.
It's the message, Derek. It's the message that people want to see. Although some people like to, I get comments over here on my Rumble. Show yourself. How come you guys don't do videos? I mean, we can do videos, but hey, I mean, it's about the message, right? Whatever, right? So, but yeah, no, that's awesome. You got to be a little ghetto sometimes doing this stuff. I get it.
I mean, I can put my video on right now to see me, but I mean, it don't
Well,
bother me.
Well,
But
if you ever want to do video, Derek, we can always, I'll give you the link and we'll go through the Rumble and we'll just do the video. If you prefer that, we can do that as well. And then what I do is I just stream it through X, stream it through all these other locations at the same time. So yeah, if that's ever something you want to do, just let me know. Get
well,
your mug out there some more.
well, I mean, it gives me the option already to hit the video. So, but I can do it on Telegram all day long. But
That's up to you. If you want to do it, that's up to you. But yeah, whatever.
it may work. I don't know. Heck, I didn't bring it. I don't have a.
Are you on the woods today? Oh, there you are. You're in the truck. There you are. kind of reminds
I'm burning my rear end up in the truck's what I'm doing. But
kind of reminds me of
um,
your first little rants. You in the truck right there.
well, yeah, I'm I'm always in a truck though somewhere or vehicle somewhere somehow. But I don't
so
have any of my cowboy hats, but I got my Make America Great Again though.
there you go. Yay! I love it. I love it. So what are you thinking? I mean, he is that whole White House correspondent dinner, he was a master troll from the media to announcing his 2028 presidency. I mean, I just love it. He's freaking awesome.
Well, I mean, the thing is that the key to that, I was telling my mother this morning. Uh, people keep wondering when there's going to be revealing or people saying stuff like, "Oh, when's he gonna validate you, Derek Johnson?" I'm like, he validates me every day. First off, I didn't reinvent the wheel; I invented the wheel. I'm the
Okay,
only
I
one. I'm
apologize.
the only one. I'm the only one with the books. Now, does that sound cocky? Maybe, but you got to take me in the context of President Trump. President Trump and I have the same gematria numbers, Hebrew and simple. Our personalities and our bloodlines, solid match. Um, and so is that cocky? Maybe. But, Johnny Cash, same thing. He was wearing black all the time. And this was a true story. This was not just a movie. But they said, oh, you wear black all the time. You look like you're going to a funeral. And he's like, well, maybe I am. All right. So I'm always saying, well, maybe I am. From a standpoint, I'm not cocky. But then again, if I get in a room with any individual spewing, kicking, cussing, fussing, griping, arguing, bickering, whatever, and they want to talk about what's going on right now, I can put every one of them in their corner or their place, as they say in this, lawfully. Not cocky, lawfully. Because it goes back to, hey, why'd you bring your mouth to a fist party? Right? Same thing like liberals out there, they bring their mouths to an ammo party. I'm pretty sure a pistol whips your mouth every time. And I may not even have to use the pistol. But it's kind of like, what are you bringing to the table? So like this, what everybody just sat and witnessed was the most ultimate validation of what military special operations do on a daily basis, one. But what people didn't realize it just took place, and I hadn't had time to do a TikTok video, but you only get 10 minutes on those, which is perfect. But this is what everybody witnessed in layman's simple terms. Not only did he validate my books because they're the only ones that outline the strategy, and where did I sign those? You got to remember where I signed them. People always have to walk around. If your friends and family are, oh, that's bullcrap. Where did I sign them? I signed the contract to write these books at Trump International, sitting at his private table, always reserved, in his chair. No one's ever sat in his chair, and he allowed me to do so. And guess what they had down there? You have members of Trump International whining because I was sitting there in his chair. He allowed, the president of the freaking universe told me I could sit in his chair, sat there, he's standing there, watch me do it, and he got members whining and it proves the point, right? There's people always going to whine, bicker, fuss, and
Yep.
that's bullcrap.
Haters.
But, so, and then, of course, if I was President Trump, I'd be like, you're not a member anymore, and you're not a member. I don't need your money. Get out of here, right? Because that showed allegiance not to me, but to him, right? So when you get into like what just took place, so watch this. If you're a Republican, and we ain't talking to you patriots, exclude yourselves, right? Because if you're a patriot, you claim to be awake, right? Either you know you are or you're not. But Republicans in the general public, here's what they said, majority of them. Oh my gosh, 4 more years. 4 more years of President Trump. This is awesome. The Democrats, by the way, I'm the first to use Democrats before President Trump. I'm just saying, I can prove this. I've already proven it timestamp wise. President Trump watches. He knows he's got the pulse of the nation, but he also knows who's truly merit-based, skill-based, etc. He knows, people out there, not just me. There's a bunch of people in my position. But the Democrats and the liberals, they immediately reverted to, he can't do that. That's against the Constitution. He can't serve a 4th term. Republicans, 4 more years of President Trump. Woo! No one sat and realized what they just accepted. Now, to the average public American, they think a president can't serve more than 2 terms. The average public American, general public, when I say public, the average general public, that means general public, target audience, the normies as we call them, they think a president can't serve more than 2 terms. They have no idea that Franklin Delano Roosevelt was voted in 4 times. He just died in his 4th term. They have no idea about the 22nd Amendment, how it's a violation of the Constitution. Article 2, Section 1, Clause 1 doesn't say anything about how many terms. Our founders, Federalist Papers. See, a lot of people don't realize that James Madison was the sole author of the Constitution. Then they had these papers in the middle of them, 85 of them, essays is what they called them. and they ain't just essays. Some of them are long, but 85 Federalist Papers between October 1787 and May 1788. Well, do your math. The Constitution was signed September the 17th, 1787, and in October, these papers started coming out. They were promotion papers of the Constitution, while the Constitution would be great for the people. It's basically like saying, hey, this is why I'll be good for you, and this is why this will be good, and this is why you should eat jalapeno raspberry sausage, or blah, 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 whatever it is. This is why it's good for you, right? Then do your math. The first inauguration day in U.S. history is March the 4th, 1789. So look at that. Those Federalist Papers fit right in the middle of the Constitution being signed and drafted, and then enacted, meaning putting it into action, which means the people adopted that. All right, those Federalist Papers, number 10, number 49, number 51, number 53, and number 72 specifically, outline via Madison and Alexander Hamilton why term limits are not good. It goes back to, if you're the people are doing what you're supposed to be doing, knowledge on the laws and the orders, but you just don't want to be a public official, which is okay. But the public officials out there, depending on who they are and what they are, if they're a senator or a House representative, president, vice president, legislative branch, executive branch that you vote in, if they're doing what they're supposed to be doing, everything will be reciprocal. The knowledge will be reciprocal. The actions will be reciprocal. Everything will be reciprocal. Stability is what our founders talked about. Stability has nothing to do with some of the things that people out there think. Wisdom, experience, and a lot of those things. The founders talked about having too much turnover, volatility. If you have too much turnover and volatility, we will never have anything consistent and stable. So someone out there being 75 years old or 80 years old doesn't mean that they're not stable. It depends on what the fruits of their labor looks like. And you, if you knew what the fruits of the labor were, meaning you don't want to be a public official, but their work is doing what the American people want, age has nothing to do with that. It actually creates more stability. So see, it shows the American people should be judged by what they know about the Federalist Papers. Everyone. And if you don't know any of that, you can't quote any of that, you probably need to do what Archie Bunker used to tell old Edith on All in the Family. Stifle it, Edith. Stifle it. Right? Stifle your mouth. Because your mouth don't mean anything, especially if you're spewing a bunch of bull crap, a bunch of garbage. You know, I love the quote in the movie Pure Country by George Strait. You know, that little white speck on top of chicken doo-doo is chicken doo-doo too. All right. I'm not going to say the other word they use because I got a swear jar and I'm trying to go by it. All right. But the Federalist Papers, the average American doesn't know any of that. And so what they just absolutely accepted and didn't realize what they accepted, especially the Democrats, it's unconstitutional. He can't serve a 4th term. They just acknowledge he's serving a 3rd term. You know that old, that, thank you. You just accepted the 3rd term without even knowing it. If you're saying it's unconstitutional to serve a 4th, why was it unconstitutional to serve a 3rd? Because in their mind, there's only 2 terms. So see, he just fully outlined this has already happened. Now you, the patriot, were supposed to already be knowing about that. But if you know about that, you shouldn't be fretting, whining, complaining. Why aren't we seeing this? Nothing's happening. It's the same stuff we hear it all the time. Oh, nothing's happening. No, nothing's happening in your mind. Plenty of things are happening.
Oh, you froze, Derek. You frozen. You may have to go out and come back in, Derek. We can't hear you. You froze. All right, everybody, hang tight. Derek's gonna have to go out. There he goes. This is typical, guys. He's always out in the woods somewhere, so bear with us. He'll be back in here shortly. Hopefully, he doesn't have to move. All right. In the meantime, for all of you guys, if you guys do have a question, if we, like I said, if we can get the questions, we can. So if you guys want to write them over here, X Live and Rumble Live in the comment area, you can go ahead and do that. Okay, go ahead, Derek.
Well, let me tell you what, my phone overheated. It's so hot down here, man.
Where the hell are you at? You in the swamp?
Pretty much the same thing. But I'm trying to, I had to crank up my vehicle and hold my phone up to the AC, my other phone. I got my other phone working, but anyway, we don't need video.
Are you going to be okay?
All the people out there, I'm real. It's like, okay, so you saw me first part, but,
You're
it's
good.
just so hot.
You're good.
So basically, President Trump, he told everybody that in the beginning that our success will be our revenge. Our success will be our retribution. And it's just like I was explaining on a podcast earlier today, and I know I make people mad. Well, they'll get over it. A certain person on there, he left butt hurt. Well, he'll get over it. They make stuff for a chapped ass, all right? And you just have to learn how to apply that. But sitting here saying that, oh, well, opinions are great for people and it's great to have these conversations. Well, it's learning who's at the table. When I walk in a room with generals and colonels, I don't act like a general and a colonel. I stand down to the respect of the room. I read the room. But generals and colonels have already known about me and my work, majority of them. So they'll acknowledge that. Because my brain and intellectual capacity is the same as a general or a colonel. I just didn't have those years in service. Doesn't mean I can't get there. Now, when we get to talking about intricacies of actual day in and day out, they're going to have better stories than me, which is fine. They're supposed to. But what happens with civilian world gets out here and everybody's claiming to be a patriot. You're self-appointing yourself with that name. You're self-appointing your name at Anon and all these things. No, you're not. You're self-appointing yourself that. The reason why that's dangerous is for the fact of when people start believing something that they're not. And then others start believing that you're something that you're not. That's when it gets dangerous. And then compromise happens. And so in a military operation, opinions are like, I almost said it, but opinions are like that thing you hear about that everybody has. And they typically stink, right? In a military operation, it's not about opinions at that point. It's a full-fledged operation, meaning, hey, there's verbal visuals and then there's visual actions of that. Laws and orders. People hear it so much, they don't realize that those are a cause and effect. All right. And order is the enforcement of the law. The law is just a verbal, but also written application that shows if someone says, what are you doing here? Well, we're operating right here. That. You have no right to be here. Well, yeah, we do. Here's the law. Learn the law. Right. So it's kind of like that. And so many patriots out there that they claim to be patriots. Where we are right now, July 27th, 2020, it shouldn't look as confused as people are out there. There should be more people calling themselves patriots so cohesive right now that even if the general public is like sailing on you, you should be so like shielded that you wouldn't even worry about it. It's kind of, I was explaining to someone earlier, it's like a bull rider. If you've never ridden a bull or don't like riding a bull, then the bucking part might scare you. But when you're a cowboy and you're a bull rider, the bucking part's just part of the ride. So you don't ever hear no bull rider going, oh man, that son he kicked so hard, no, the bucking is part of the ride. So it's kind of like turbulence when you fly on an aircraft. Turbulence is part of it. Is it fun? Not always. Can it be scary? Well, if you don't understand it, it can be. But once you get it broken down, what turbulence actually is, and that it's not under the plane, it's above the plane, it'll make sense. You're not crashing because a plane is fighting the resistance of the air above it, not under it. And once you apply that, well, there's no way you're going to crash unless you got a pilot up there who's snorting cocaine and drinking tequila. I mean, there may be a chance of crashing then. But other than that, so many people are not applying what you're witnessing still. Now, I say that meaning I don't know who is in here and who isn't that's here's this week in and week out, but I always speak to the audience as if you're new. Because if you're new, that's who this is for. If you're a patriot, you should be a well-oiled machine right now. And so, like, for example, some fun stuff that happened today, or an article that was put out in the last few days. So Venezuela announces that they're initiating the process of leaving the ICC, International Criminal Court. Well, just about a week and a half ago, 2 weeks, Rubio and all their profiles on X started blasting the ICC. Boom, 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 post after post, post after post, post after post. If you go to a lot of these pages like Secretary of State, State Department, things like that, and you go to their menu bar and type in their search bar rather, and you type in a keyword, it'll pull up the words of what you typed in, and then you can see the time signatures on those. Well, why haven't they been talking about the ICC before a week or two ago? See, when someone sees it or knows what it is, and goes, oh, I've heard about that, and then you zone in on it, you home in on it, then you go, wow, yeah, this, that, and other. You might read it as live time. But if you don't know the bigger application, which is what I do, is show you the bigger application, then I can zoom in on something, say, okay, let's talk about the ICC. Well, Venezuela, here's a nation that just about a year ago, you had all your Democrats and your libtards whining and complaining, losing their everlasting minds in the normie world on their side of things about President Trump and all of our military operations blowing up boats and drug traffickers, losing their minds. Oh, that's unconstitutional. He can't use the military like that. Blah, 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 blah. They have no idea what they're talking about, one. Then two, look at the application of it. So Venezuela. The Venezuelan operation, ladies and gentlemen, started April the 1st, 2020. Right in the middle of all of President Trump's Title 10 federalization orders of the National Guard and Reserve components. So see, it goes back to what I'm pointing to, what I'm saying right now. Like, I keep hearing more and more and more podcasters that people know talking about the deep state's in panic, the deep state's doing this and that. No, they are not. No, they're not. They don't even exist. So I was showing my mother this example earlier. It's kind of funny, and it works. Because most of y'all are ladies, and you'll understand this principle-wise, but also humorously, but truthfully as well. If I had a girlfriend, or fiance, or a wife, which I don't, but if I did, guys, males, hear me out. You probably already know this. But if you don't, now's the time to take notes. At some point in your relationship, your girlfriend, fiance, or wife is going to ask you, do you look fat? Does she look fat in a dress? If you hesitate too long, my friends, that's also a yes. All right, so you better always walk around knowing that any point in time, your lady is going to spring that bullcrap on you. Does she look fat in a dress or a bikini or whatever it is? And that's the one moment. All ladies will agree. This is the one moment, men, males, guys, dudes. You better lie your ever-living butt off if she is fat in a dress or bikini. Lie your rear end off. That's your one hall pass to lie. All right? But it better be a sellable lie, though, as well. You better work on that. Get in the mirror, have a conference with your guy friends and practice this in the backyard or somewhere at the camp house, wherever you're, whatever. Like, practice this. It's applicable to what I'm talking about. Because here's why. If the deep state was still alive, kicking, roaming, and doing everything that these podcasters are talking, this is what this would look like. All right? If your wife says, do I look fat in this dress? And your initial response is, heck yeah, babe. You so fat, you could play pool with the planets. All right? Babe, You so fat, you have to squeeze through a garage door just to get in there, right? If you went full ape, full blown, lost your everlasting mind, a woman ain't gonna even have you back in the first place. You ain't even really digging a hole. But let's just say perhaps that you actually are digging a hole. You're gonna dig a hole so deep that you're gonna go down to the lowest level between the last layer of ground and hell. All right. And then it'd be like you going, I'm gonna show her now. I love her so much. And then you looking up that long hole back up there to that little tiny sliver of light that you see. And it'd be like going, babe, I love you. You look just like we look. Oh, when I first met you. She ain't gonna believe you. And first off, if you even can climb out of that hole, she's gonna hit you with a frying pan by the time you even get near the light of day again. She's gonna hit you and you're gonna go right back down to the bottom of that hole. And that's gonna be a round robin game like you see in arcades of the little thing that pops up and you gotta see which hole's gonna pop out. Bam! Hit it. Your wife, girlfriend, fiance is gonna hit you so hard, so many times that you're gonna still end up in the bottom of the hole. For anyone out there saying the deep state is still operating, still in panic, all this other, they're in panic, they're doing this. This is what this would be like. From 21, 22, 23, they displayed to the world that there was a Democrat president, a Democrat House, and Democrat Senate. But they couldn't terminate a single military order by President Trump. They couldn't rescind the orders of the National Guard and bring them back to their states. The borders, everything. They couldn't terminate a tariff. They didn't even have a single Democrat libtard judge try to block a tariff from 21 to 25. Eight executive orders with 8 national emergencies, all unique. Not just regular executive orders, not just regular national emergencies, all unique to all the operations you've been seeing from 2017 to present day, all unique 8 executive orders and 8 national continued all the way. All right. They couldn't have a single regulation uniform around them. You have just regular pilots. God love you, regular pilots out there, not knocking you, but regular pilots standing next to an Air Force guy saluting a vice president. I mean, every aspect of it was jacked up. That would be like the deep state digging a hole so deep down to that bottom level again between the last layer and hell, and then turning and looking up and saying, oh, by the way, President Trump, as soon as you take office, January the 20th, 2025, every day after that, we are going to rain down on you, you king, you dictator, you Nazi, you. Them tariffs are a burden to the American people. Them tariffs are going to destroy America. And you're going to make all these people pay for it. Amongst all the other things. Why would the deep state, if they had the same power and authority, why would they dig their own hole so deep and turn around? We're going to show them when we get back. If we even get back in 2028, we're going to show them. We're going to. Ladies and gentlemen, I know that people don't like the word stupid, but you got to be a special tripling down on stupid to believe that the deep state have any kind of power out there. Which goes back to, why do you love President Trump? Why do you love him? Why do you support him? What do you think he's the face of? And this is why God, and I don't use him loosely, the Great Spirit, if you're Native American like me as well, all right, God, the Great Spirit, and whatever or whatever spirituality you believe in, I'm not here to step on that. But God put certain people in certain places. Because at the end of the day, every single one of you want someone to treat you right, do you right. Which means you got to do what? Act right. All right, well, how do you act right? There has to be a formula for that as well. We have to have some formula basis on human beings. And we have it. Do unto others as you'd have them do unto you. Real simple. It's not difficult. It's real simple. It's been around. In case you never heard of it, it's been around for quite a while. All right. So you got to make it applicable. Well, it's the same thing with President Trump. His laws and orders that he's using are unique to a military operation, irregular and unconventional warfare. All this other stuff is just chatterboxes. And what's happening is you got a lot of people in their 50s or 60s and 70s. God love them, but I got to say it. You got a lot of people who've never been in the military, never been in government, never been in law enforcement, and they're feeling some deep down feeling that they didn't do something in their early life and you want to be a part of something. That's okay until you reach a crossroads to where you're just blabbering and talking about something you don't know about. Therefore, you got to have the right people talking to you. You got to have the right application. You can't self-appoint yourself as a leader. You either are, and if you are, others will recognize it. All right. Now, we also have to get back to a merit base like President Trump's talking about, where people do recognize it and appoint those people more than anything else. Merit based, meaning work hard, show me you work hard, and then also show me the fruits of your labor. And that's what no one's seen all these past years. So anyone right now that's demanding accountability is not an aftermath term. Accountability is a beginning of an establishment, and it depends on, is this a one-time operation, a two-time operation, or is it unlimited? If it's unlimited, then accountability never goes away, period. But if it's a one-time with a goal or a hard stop to it, accountability is on the front, and it's expected through the whole entire process. And then you reach mission accomplished. What people are doing right now, yelling and screaming and kicking and cussing, nothing changes till we see arrest. No, nothing changes until you learn to prevent a swamp from growing. All of a sudden, demanding arrest means that you were made aware of something that most of you weren't even aware of to begin with, because you did not draw up the plan. You didn't draw the line in the sand. You didn't sound the bugle. You didn't lead the charge. You didn't even see the first and the second waves. So when you hear podcasters out there, I've been knowing this since 2017, 2016. There's no way you could have. There wasn't even enough laws invoked with orders invoked. There weren't even enough of those to even have a formula of a basis of the military operation. And that's how you can pick this apart. And then get to like stuff like what's happening currently right now is something that's it's big per se, in the sense of it's not as big as election interference and some of those, but it all coincides the ICC. So if Venezuela initiates their leaving of it, then today a prosecutor was fired from the ICC. So all of a sudden they got all this attention diverted over there to the ICC. Well, what's cool about it, it shows you the operation. All right. President Trump had an executive order 13928. All right. Way back in the first term. And then they showed, quote unquote, Joe terminate that with executive order 14022. Then President Trump follows up in 2025 with executive order 14203, reinstilling that executive order. Now, to the general public that would have known about that during that time period, if they would have known about it, they'd have thought, well, President Trump issues an executive order with a national emergency, then quote unquote Joe terminates it, and then President Trump brought it back. That's what the average that would know about it, the intricacies of it. All right. Well, when you get over to the I call it showboating or the theater of it, here's what they actually would have been showing you. So they showed the world that quote unquote Joe terminated this executive order with a national emergency with the ICC. All right. In that order, that when you hear President Trump saying, oh, he let all these immigrants in and he did this and he did that and all these 50 million people came flooding in, yada, 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 all that stuff, like all that. Yeah, that's what he's talking about. Because that order will be the one that shows the suspension of entry of immigrants and non-immigrants. And it says it's no longer in effect. And then it also said in there that it ends Proclamation 8693 from July 2011. Well, who was the president in 2011? Better yet, who was the vice president in 2011? See, that right there alone shows you what you also need to know. That's a key thing, a key factor, is who was the vice president in 2011. And see, it goes back to also the merit base that every single person in the public official world should know every single law, every single order. And guess who says that? Oh, the Federalist Papers. The Federalist Papers says that even though certain members of Congress don't act in official capacity, guess what they still should do? Know about it. So this all applies always, all the time. Well, then that was for the normies, even the normies who did or would have known about those executive orders with national emergencies. So there's a weed out process of who would have actually known to look at that and what would they thought they were looking at. So the theater portion of it would be President Trump issuing the executive order with the national emergency, then quote unquote Joe coming in here and terminating it, which means he is absolutely for the international court, which goes to the Rome statute. Rome, what do we have in Rome? All right. You got to look at all the alliances of what it's pointing to. So when you look at the alliances of what it's pointing to and what they had their hands in, but that's for the normal, I don't call them normies anymore, I call them the target audience, but you can call them the general public. It's for them. It's not for you, the patriot. It's not supposed to be. So then the other thing you look at is terminating an executive order of that nature. It would suspend in that one, the IEPA is what President Trump calls it. He's going to learn a way to say the acronym, but the International Economic Emergency Powers Act. But then it had the National Emergencies Act, and it had the Immigration and Nationality Act in it. Well, guess what? There's about 50 other executive orders for national emergencies open that all of those are already invoked in. So the applications of all those acts are still applicable out there. The president can use them from another order, period. Then you got to look at what the actual executive order itself says. Specific order with the ICC. If you go look in there, it separates me from you. And I don't mean that in a bad way. But it layers a lot of things, but I'm only going to name a few of them. But it says specifically, current or former members of the armed forces, current or former United States government officials, current or former employed by or working on behalf of such a government. Well, I'm two of those. I'm in a category of two of those. One I'm a former in, one I'm a current in. So when you learn what these things are making applicable, but also what they're trying to wake up the target audience with, it's real easy to follow, but only until you learn what President Trump's plan is, not what you want it to be. And I'm just saying, I don't know who you are out there, a lot of you, and it may not be anyone in this the room's listening. It may be your friends and family, but someone's going to hear this and it's going to be applicable from that manner, is the fact that, hey, this is not a grocery aisle. This ain't going in the grocery store and picking out what you want based on your appetite. All right. This is a military operation. Now, you can have plenty of questions. That's fine. But if your questions are not applicable to that, or your questions are simple, which means you're not reading, studying, and comprehending, it depends on the question. I'm not a public official either. So there's that. So if I'm not a public official, I'm not accountable to your questions. I can answer your questions, but what's going to make you a sharper, more empowered civilian? Don't even worry about being a patriot. Just be a great, empowered, skill set civilian. What's going to make you one of those is knowing what President Trump is working with, and quit all this other chatter out there is only going to confuse you, and you don't need it. You absolutely do not need it. Now, I know a lot of podcasters, they get mad about that. That's fine. They'll get over it. Again, they got stuff for hurt butts. All right. They got creams for that. You know, you might need 10 pounds of it. Go get it. But It's just, this is a military operation. All right. And for President Trump to be able to do a 4-term, they're already acknowledging there's a third. And people didn't even realize that they accepted the third. But so Venezuela, there's that key country that everybody thought, oh, we're going to war, we're doing this, we're doing that. And here's Venezuela carrying out all of President Trump's plan. They're leaving the ICC. They're calling out this, and the ICC's prosecutor gets fired today. No, that didn't happen today. But for the target audience, it did. Right? So it's a rollout. There were so many things that had to be cleaned up and cleaned out across this world and across this planet. And that's another reason why patriots, I know it's painful. Lord, I know, I get it. But at the same time, I'm like, this is part of it. If you're an operator, it's just part of it. It's just like, hey, it's a slow roll. It's a hurry up and wait, hurry up and wait. If you're a veteran, you already know that. Hurry up and wait, hurry up and wait, hurry up and wait. And you should really be just smiling and enjoying it. Because I don't want the libtards losing their minds in the wrong kind of way, but it's kind of fun to watch them. You have to admit, if you do love drama, well, it's kind of fun to watch them lose their minds, because they're losing their minds over something that's only going to benefit them more. But then when you watch rhinos, I call them resurrected rhinos, not just rhinos, but they're resurrected. But resurrected rhinos, meaning there's a lot more Republicans that they went and jumped ship. And y'all witnessed it. You witnessed it. Some of them are big platforms out there. Some of them are on X. Some over there on X. They go jump ship with President Trump over Iran. And it's just like, it's not a war. It's a conflict. This is all outlined in the military. If you appreciate the military, support the military, you might want to listen to us military members. It's not a war. It's a conflict. There's a huge difference. All right. And then look at last year. I've said this many times before. No one was losing their minds over us bombing the hell out of Yemen. Where was everybody then? Where was old Carrie Prejean Bowler? Oh, holier than thou. Where was she then? And I'm not sending my kids to fight over it. Her kids were 12 years old. When are your kids ain't even applicable. They can't. So see, that's that old school mindset of the real deep state. But she's not an acting deep state person, meaning like she's not an official. She's just got the mindset of the old deep state, which shows she was not on board with President Trump. She got a rear end removed from the religious commission of President Trump's. She got in there and got her britches too big, and she started trying to speak on behalf of something that she didn't even have the platform for. So she exposed herself, right? And that's perfect. When you have exposure, people who they take their own trash out. They're taking their own selves out and jumping in the trash can. Let them. And she's talking about this, oh, not our war, not our war. She wasn't yelling about us bombing Yemen. Yemen has just as many Houthis as Iran has. So what we're trying to teach people is that, hey, every single action in Venezuela, Iran, and Yemen, guess who all has executive orders with them? Jimmy Carter and Obama. So every single one of these things are things that President Trump's having to clean up from the quote-unquote diplomacy of the quote-unquote deep state that ain't there anymore, but the real deep state who established it. Then with Iran, I was explaining this to an 85-year-old lady today, a little sweet lady, reminding me of my grandmother. But Iran, you got to think outside the box with Iran. When you hear rhinos, and this is how you approach your family and friends, that he keeps saying he's got a peace deal and he can't make a deal. The deal was made with the Republic of Iran. What's taking place right now, and every veteran knows this, is you got a bunch of low-level hanging fruit. You got a bunch of independent actors out there. You got a bunch of these Houthis who are running around that were once funded by the old deep state, Obama, Bush, and all the way back, Clinton, etc. They've been running rampant all this time. Disruptors, all right? They've been funded by the Iran and different people, but they're still independent on their own from another manner of operations. They're low-level hanging fruit. Their money source has been cut off. That's the whole key thing with Venezuela, the whole key thing with Iran, the whole key, their money source is cut off. So that goes back to you either believe President Trump or you don't. If you're still out there whining, complaining, griping, fussing, arguing, and bickering, then you're not with President Trump. You're not. Sorry, you're not there yet. You're either not or you're not there yet. All right, because the whole thing, what they're showing the target audience is, we're not going to be the world's police anymore. We're not going to pull all the weight for NATO. They're going to start pulling their own, and there probably won't even be in NATO in the first place because the Abraham Accords are more than likely going to overtake that. If they still want to keep NATO going, it ain't going to be nowhere near as powerful, more than likely. Maybe not, but I think they're going to dismantle that just because. But if they don't, it still will be cleaned out. So either way, either or, it'll be cleaned out. Because President Trump, what he's the face of, that's what he's the face of. So when you get to the Houthis, what President Trump is doing is making all these the new regime now, the supreme leader and the president, he's saying every time that a boat gets hit, a ship gets hit, or anything of that nature, one of our bases, a missile flies over by one of these flagrants, you're still going to be held accountable. So he's getting them to start acting on their behalf, not us going, we're going to get them all the time. Oh, we're going to get them too. We're going to get them just because that's our revenge. All right. But you're going to start holding these people accountable too. They're your people. You speak their language. They look like you. You tell them they better stop. And if they don't, you hit them as well. He's got to bring accountability back to the table, which goes back again to what I talk about with any organization, whether you're in business, a law firm, anything, whatever it is out there, accountability is always on the front. It's an established term, but it's an action. It's not something you get to the end and someone you finally get awake and then you arrest these people. No, where were you on the beginning? So see, that's why people like me don't take people out there serious, even people who call themselves patriots, if you're going to be that person. Because you all of a sudden see the revelation, but where were you on the beginning? So another great thing that has happened, and you're going to see it, you can mark my words right now. Panama. President Trump sent 4,000 Marine Corps to Panama last year. President Trump started hammering China, and then he got specific, and he went to Hong Kong. And he didn't waste any time. The day that they showed that Jimmy Carter died to the public, he was raining down on Jimmy Carter. And the libtards out there were losing their everlasting minds because he didn't even let the grass even have a chance to be planted, much less pop up out of ground. He started hammering Jimmy Carter about how he gave away Panama for $1. And we lost more American men down there than in history with other things. So he started hammering Jimmy Carter. Well, Jimmy Carter's the one who started the national emergency and the executive order with Iran. November the 18th, 1979. Older than me. Hope you feel old. All right. That's how long this executive order and national emergency has been played out and continued all these years by their quote unquote diplomacy. Now let's go back over to Panama. President Trump started hammering Panama. They've been controlled by China. Then he specifically went down to Hong Kong. Well, executive order 13936 from the national emergency from July 14, 2020, President Trump issued. Guess what happened this July 14th? They didn't continue it. They just let it expire because it has an automatic termination if it's not continued. Well, President Trump and the administration just let it expire, which means mission accomplished. All right, so there's going to be something down the road that pops out with Panama and Hong Kong and the overtaking and getting it back and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There's going to be something down the road that's going to be a success with President Trump with Panama. Bank it. All right. So once you learn all those things, now that's just an executive order of the national emergency. You don't even have to get into regular warfare and unconventional warfare and all that other good stuff. You ain't even got to get there. Now it goes back to X. Another thing I've been explaining about X, and this ties into Elon, it ties into Starlink, it ties into Space Force, and it ties into what President Trump's doing with Palantir. I still see people losing their minds out there calling themselves patriots over Palantir. How and why? You either trust President Trump or you don't. You're either with him or you're not. You either support him or you don't. If you support him, then you got to know what he's working with. If you know what he's working with, you wouldn't be whining, complaining, griping, fussing, fearful, scared, anything. You'll be solid with me daily. You may even be ahead of me. You know, I may be chilling on a beach somewhere and not paying attention that day to what's rolling out, even though I already know it. But you could be over there going, hey, Derek, did you see this today? Did you see this? You see it? Hey, kudos to you because you're empowering yourself. That's what it's about. And the whole goal is empowering is that you may run by me in 20 years and be the next whomever. Good for you, but give credit where it's due, right? That's how all these things works. Reciprocality. X. Now, why would Elon take a company that President Trump used? If you went up on the street to every Republican and said, I want you to pick your favorite, but let's just say this is a real Republican, like real true, hardcore red Republican. We're not talking about patriots, we're talking about Republicans. And not even necessarily hardcore, just label themselves as MAGA, but just they love President Trump, they support President Trump, they vote for President Trump. You say, Elon or President Trump, which one? Pick one. You only get one, pick one. What do you think they're going to go with? They're going to go with President Trump. Well, who revolutionized? So this is the next question. Can you tell me who revolutionized Twitter in government? Elon or President Trump? Which one? Pick it. President Trump. It ain't Elon. So why would Elon need to rebrand? Twitter was already branded, meaning it already had its logo, it has its symbol. Why would he need to rebrand it? It already had a brand. It was already popular. Matter of fact, some of us have been on Twitter so long, now X, that we still say Twitter because it was branded. It's branded in us. It's branded. That's what branding is for. That's marketing 101, branding. It's supposed to stay in your head. It's supposed to get stuck in your head, right? So why would he rename it to the letter X? In the game of chess, the letter X equals captured. And right now, when you get on X, it is negative Nancy all day long. Or it's run-of-the-mill, same bullcrap that you always saw, especially if you are a true awake patriot. You saw it before 2016. And it is so laggard. It almost looks like Facebook. God love the Facebookers, but if people who are only on Facebook and they're not on anything else, they slow. They're laggards. They're the last to come on board. X is starting to look like that. I mean, there are people who follow me with massive platforms. Is President Trump really going to be able to run again? If they knew who I am and what I do and what my books are about and the strategy, the blueprint, everything of President Trump's and the military's operation, they wouldn't be asking such a dumb question. That is a dumb question. Every one of us grew up in school where our teachers said, there's no such thing as dumb. That is a dumb question. That's a dumb question because if they knew why they supported this man they claim to support, they should. But if they follow me, especially, why are you following me? What made you click to follow me? What are you looking at? What are you reading? What are you applying to yourself? X is a captured operation. All these blue checks, used to, you had to be prominent and you had to be verified through some prominent source that, hey, this person's a big figure and they this, and that, and they're famous or they're this or they're signed on this record label and then they got a blue check that way. Now, $7 a month, baby, you can get you a blue check It don't make you official anymore. But what they got to do is they got to quell all this bull crap about, I have a First Amendment. Well, you can't just be saying whatever you want to say about the government and the military, especially the bigger you get. Because the bigger you get, you have influence. All right. And if you're influencing people the wrong way, then guess what happens? You actually get you a little thing called a cult. Remember Mr. David Koresh out in Waco, Texas? All right. That's an example of a cult of people who just worship the ground this wacko walked on. And there's even a TV episode of In the Heat of the Night where the same thing. This guy was this religious leader, and all these women were just bowing down to him, and children, and they were willing to die with him. That even when he killed himself in the show, sorry for spoiler alert, but when he killed himself, they all bowed down outside. Even though they were rescued, they all bowed down outside. Oh, yeah. Started doing some weird stuff, right? So you can't just say, oh, I have a First Amendment. That we've got to sharpen that, which is what empowerment is and skill sets are. So Palantir, yeah, it signed a contract with the military in 2011. But there's a recent article that I always show everybody from Yahoo Finance. Yahoo Finance put an article out, and it's got 4 keywords in it. This is what teaches you out there to empower yourself and skill sets to be able to read a long article and find the 4 keywords out of it. It says compiling data, existing contracts. The number one complaint by Republicans, rhinos, conservatives, MAGA, and patriots is they're going to have our information. And this is where I can't go video again because my phone will overheat. But this is where you have to visualize me taking a sledgehammer and hit myself on the head with it. All right. And this is what that would be like. They already have your information. It says compiling data. They can't compile something if they don't already have something. Come on, people. It ain't Sunday, but I can preach on Monday too. All right. So come on, people. This is not difficult. Compiling data from existing contracts. Existing. So you either have one of 2 options. Either you want Obama, Bush, the Clintons, Janet Reno, Colin Powell, name them. Schumer, Comey, Schiff, all of them. You either want all of them in control of your data, or you want President Trump in control of your data. All these people out there whining, bickering, and fussing about data centers. First off, you're that person when you go to Cracker Barrel that ends up with all the pads in the game because you probably don't even play the game. So you're well past ignoramus saying that. We've had data centers since the 40s, ladies and gentlemen. We don't even use water from the ocean. You'll hear people out there, oh, they use a lot of water. Go look at the data. Look at the data of a data center. That's a good one. Look at the data of a data center. 0.000000000017. Oh, there's your 7. There's your 17. 0.000000000017 water usage. Oh boy, we're really hurting the streams and rivers out there. Come on, people. So see, what people don't realize is President Trump, he's holding the companies accountable. You want AI? You'll pay for it. But guess what the companies will be able to do? Because the tariffs are actually bringing more money into our nation, and they're freeing up these companies to operate more freely. They're supplying their demand. And then also your pocketbooks as well. That old saying, you got to spend money to make money. It's the same thing. You can, but if everybody out there just sat and hoarded all their money and never spent it, then we'd have a problem. All right. You can't have a supply and demand that way. So it don't even matter what kind of currency it is. Too many people getting into that too, but you got to have something. We have to have some barter. All of our founders and before our founders, they always had some form of barter system. Doesn't matter what it was. Pine cone, donkey, apple, banana. Doesn't matter. There was a barter system there. We have to have something, especially what we built up to. And until we can stifle it and bring it back down to a quail, and if we all decided, we don't like a US dollar, then okay. But if you go out there in the general public, not the patriot world, but the general public who has no idea what's going on, and you rip that rug out, there's going to be chaos. There's going to be murders. There's going to be suicides. There's going to be all kinds of crazy crap going on. What happened in the stock market in 29. So see, you got a lot of people out there promoting this stock market crash and all, crashing the system and stuff like that. That's not how they're going to crash it. There's another way to quote unquote crash a system without crashing people's minds. All right. And then also this blackouts. You hear all with the blackout. We black out all the time in the military. We can black out all kinds of different circuits, circuit boards, etc. So see, the terminology has been so misconstrued out there, and it's like trying to quell that and bring it back in. But it's like kind of once the toothpaste is out of the tube, it's hard to get that back in. And so many patriots in that right now. So Palantir, President Trump, that's what X, that's what Space Force, all those are coinciding with those systems. All right, and there's layers of these systems. The data centers are on a different kind of infrastructure of a system, but then these are also in a system. So you got to know those systems. There's nothing to be afraid of, because again, if you trust President Trump, which the way you trust him is not just his face, it's not just him as a person or him even his humor, it's this laws and orders is how you trust him. It's what are they making applicable, and how is it applicable? What are they displaying to the public? And so most of the general public, they are so confused, and they're yelling and kicking and cussing and complaining. And it's just like, you guys are yelling over something. You look so dumb that, and I know they don't even like being called dumb, but I'm like, but you display it, and you wouldn't have to display it. So it's kind of like anything else in your life where someone shows their colors and you're like, you just showed your colors, and the wheel said something completely different, and you just went and showed your colors. Well, you didn't have to, but you did. Thank you. I appreciate it. All right. Thank you for showing your colors, morons. You just showed your colors, and there's here's an oyster shell your mama left you. Hope you enjoy oyster shells, because there's nothing else. Right? And they're over there thinking that mama buried a big old pot of gold, And so, mama left me a note, and it says it's got a pot of gold somewhere under the rainbow. And she said in the note, I'll show you where the rainbow is. Right? And then it's like, no, mama left you an oyster shell. Hope you like empty oyster shells. So Americans are whining, complaining, griping, fussing, arguing, trying to debate over something they don't even know about. The average American cannot name a single term from a single sentence, from a single paragraph of one single law currently invoked. So why are they whining, complaining, kicking, fussing, cussing? If I can know it, you can know it. And it always has to go back to that attitude. If I can, you can. And then let me address another thing, a fun thing. All these people out there in the quote unquote patriot world talking about, oh, Derrick Johnson didn't serve long enough. How can he know this? He didn't do this. He didn't do that. He didn't do this. He can't. Okay, well, how is it that I do know it, though? So, see, it always goes back to, well, how do I know, though? Because again, how do I have the only #1 best-selling books? Now, that sounds braggadocious. It does. But if I can't know it, how do I know it? And if I can't know it, then how do I have the formula, the strategy, the blueprint? See, every bit of our lives is about doing or don'ting. My dad always said, I carry him now, his legacy around forever, obviously. But everything he instilled in me. I hated pulling teeth when I was young. Boy, he loved it. And that thing could barely move. You could a flea could have flown by my tooth and it barely moved. And my dad's like, it's ready to pull. And I'm like, it's not ready to pull. I can tell you right now, it ain't nowhere near ready to pull. And I hated it because I hated that feeling. He would pull that some gun root and all. What? It wouldn't be loose at all. He just loved showing his muscles and boom, pulling a tooth. And I'd go in my room and lock the door, thinking he couldn't get through that door. Now, my dad didn't kick a door in or nothing like that. He didn't have to. He came down there, he knocked on the door and said, "What are you doing in there?" I said, "I'm praying." I was like 7 years old. "I'm praying." He said, "Well, we about to put some feet to them prayers." But see, Christians, a lot of you out there, you know this, Christians, they're mainly Christians from the outside in, not the inside out, right? And then they always talk about praying. They always praying, but they ain't ever put no feet to their prayers. You can pray all day long for a Corvette, but if someone don't come around that says, "Babe, I'm gonna buy you a Corvette," then you the babe, and you're gonna have to go find you something to pay for you a Corvette. That's how that works. All right. So prayers, they're no good. They're ineffective unless you put feet to those. Until you show God that, hey, you told me anything in your name, in your will, if it's your will, it'll be done. Well, when you pray to him, you still got to put the application to it. You got to go put feet to that. And if it's not his will, that don't mean that your work was negated. It just means that you worked somewhere to another layer, that you're going to come to another prayer, to another passage of what maybe God has for you. And then when you get that prayer, you're going to be like, "You know what? Now I realize what I did all this for. It wasn't for that over there. It was for this right here." And so you're either a doer or a donor. And I ain't talking about a donor, but a don'ter. All right. You're either that or not. And what President Trump and them are showing you, it's day by day, but it's already, if you are thinking like me, and if you'll learn to think like me, and if you'll learn irregular warfare, unconventional warfare, thinking outside the box, but as long as you have a solid foundation, you can think outside the box. You're going to have fun with this. You're going to enjoy this. You're going to appreciate President Trump even more. You're going to appreciate military, armed forces as a whole, but you're going to especially love special operations even more. You're going to love every intricate aspect of all the operation going on civil affairs, even psychological operations. There's going to be so many layers that you're going to appreciate when you realize what's taking place. And so no patriot that claims to be a patriot should have any complaints right now, even about Israel. I'm so sick of hearing about Israel with people out there. I'm like, again, President Trump hammered Tucker Carlson today. And he said that all Republicans should be happy to see this guy leave with his career busted. And they call it the Jew derangement syndrome. That is a pretty harsh comment coming from President Trump. That hammers a lot of the patriot world out there, because what the patriot world's doing is still taking a broad application of a word like Israel and trying to make it intricate to what you've heard or the rabbit holes you've gone down. And it has nothing to do with the right now, the current, the present, but also where we're headed in the future. Right. And then you're also exposing your ignorant religious stances. All right. That's why I don't talk about religion a bunch, meaning like I don't talk intricacies of, the 12 tribes of Judah and this and that. It gotta unveil that. There's anyone who's arguing over these things and getting in knockdown dragouts about that, you're missing the point. God does give men dreams and visions, but we put feet to those. It still goes back to, we got to have a law, we got to have an order. When you read the military government booklet by William Burkheimer, when you read the application of what Congress and the Constitution has supported for 250 plus years, military, you have to have laws and orders to prevent chaos. If we didn't have laws and orders and people who knew what they were doing and how to operate them, you'd have a bunch of Barney Fifes walking around. And just because you look a certain way at them that day, they just may like, "You know what? You didn't bring your pistol today, but I brought mine, and you looked at me the wrong way." Bow. Right? And they take the law into their hands for some dumb, selfish, egotistical, idiotic purpose. So if we don't have that amongst us, then we're going to have chaos. And then even having law without enforcement as military government says, is a paper blockade. Meaning paper's just paper. Words on paper don't mean a thing unless they're enforced. Now, we don't need a bunch of laws either. We do need to abolish a lot of them. There is no doubt. But that involves people. But when you have a society who don't know their head from a JCPenney mannequin or a hole in the ground, we have such a society that wants, it's like I call it the Build-A-Bear society. Everybody wants to build their own bear, and every bear looks different. Every bear is taller, shorter, fatter, skinnier, this, that, this color hair, that color hair. But my bear loves Twinkies. Well, my bear don't. My bear's a vegan. And it's like all this bull crap that has nothing to do with everybody living at home individually and pulling together on, hey, whether your bear's a vegan or an obese Rosie O'Donnell, we got to pay for this highway out here. Okay, it has nothing to do with that. All right, so how are we going to pay for this highway that we both share every morning, every Monday when we're going here, here, and here? All right, those kind of things. And so we have such a society that don't have a foundation. So President Trump says it all the time. We got to give the people what they want. Well, people want drama. Unfortunately, people want drama. It may not be you, but the majority of people out there, they love TV shows that have all kinds of psyops in it. They have TV shows that have all kinds of operations in it. They have TV shows with all kinds of games and how they retaliate and how they have a gatekeeper and a this and a that. They can see it all day long on TV, but when a retired veteran with the only books, number one books, sign them with President Trump down at Trump International, private course, private club. Oh, that's a conspiracy theory, and oh, that's a bunch of bull crap. That's a bunch of, oh, he didn't serve long enough, and he didn't do this, and he won't show us DD-14, and blah, 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 blah. Something as simple as, oh, he don't show us DD-14. Ladies and gentlemen, you know how dumb you sound out there, whoever your friends and family are, that's, oh, he don't show us DD-214. A DD-214 don't show your day in and day out of the military. Good Lord, have mercy. Look at the Patriot world. The Patriot world's more mixed up than the target audience. Rabbit holes. Not all rabbit holes have a rabbit at the end of it or a rabbit's foot. A lot of them have rattlesnakes in it. All right, that's where the rattlesnake goes strategically, because the hole's already dug, the hole's already there, and then that rabbit goes in that hole. Well, that snake comes around, his senses going, I smell some food down here. I don't even have to work hard. I can just go in this hole that's what? It has one way in and one way out. Ha, bingo. Right? So you gotta be sure, or you're gonna get entrapped by the wrong people as well. So like President Trump, he was perfect. He wasn't in the military. He wasn't a politician. He was a perfect disruptor visually that says, hey, I can't be bought. You can't buy me. You can't compromise me. And he couldn't. He didn't need any money. He didn't need the deeps. He didn't need any money, period. Any kind of money. Donors, et cetera, et cetera. The other thing he does is exposes how much money it does cost. I know someone who was running for a U.S. Senate spot in a certain state. You know how much money they had to raise? Just to raise the money to be a competitor. $50 million. What would you do with $50 million, ladies and gentlemen? If every single one of you could, let's say that there was a pot and there was only 3 of you playing it, and you got a 33% chance to win $50 million. Would you not put your name in that pot? Heck yeah, you would. Okay, so $50 million for one single spot in Congress. Now make that applicable to all the U.S. spots of Congress in every state. Tell me we're not a rich nation. Tell me we're not a wealthy nation. I dare you to try to present that case. So see, President Trump, they got to bring all that back down. This has got to get back to merit-based. If a public official won't stand up and present a good argument to you or a good presentation of why they'll be good for whatever they're running for, you don't want them. It shouldn't cost money to run for office, which goes back to that's what his speech was about. The journalist, that one woman that got up, can't think of her name right now, but the one, she said, oh, and by the way, keep fighting journalists through all the subpoenas and through all this. That was theater, but it's real for the target audience to show what's about to happen to all of them as well. But to believe that President Trump is the greatest commander of all time, to believe he's the greatest visual of all time, operator of all time, to believe everything 45-47, the deep state's gone, to believe all that, but then turn around and say that the media is operating on their own and they're not under a wartime order, 47 United States Code, Section 606, the Telecommunications Act of 1934, 1996, which is one of the statute authorities and powers under a national emergency declaration. And there's 51 of those open right now. To think that President Trump's not utilizing that, you got to be classified as foolish. I know people don't like being called dumb, stupid, and a fool, but you got to be classified something to think that, oh, he's the greatest commander and he's this. We have it all. We call him all. Da, 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 da. But then you don't believe that he don't have control of the media. He most certainly does have control of the media. And it's the perfect power play because it's a wartime order. How do you know the wartime codes are invoked? Well, one of them is the 1798 Aliens Act. Supreme Court upheld that. That's a wartime order only. Now it applies to immigration, sure, but then it goes back to, well, the troops never left the border from 21-25. So how was quote unquote Joe terminating executive orders to do with the border? How were the National Guard and Reserve components still down there? They weren't state duty. None of those were state duty. It's not a state duty job anyway. It's not a state duty order anyway. So see, when you learn what orders are and the application of those, you can't split the hair any other way. You would absolutely be 100% on board with everything. And that's a prime example of that right there, of the border. And then also, President Trump, the 2024, not only at the border, but he met with 12 foreign leaders 13 times. I mean, they put this stuff so right in front of everybody. But again, it's the application and it's knowing the terms, the verbiage, etc. And that's why so many people just they continue to look confused. But a lot of patriots out there are still doing my dad called it the want in one hand and wish in another, which they both equal nothing. You want, wish, wish, wish. Want, wish, wish, wish. Well, if you can't put any money behind that want and that wish, guess what? You ain't got nothing. All right. So it still goes back to that. And that's what they're showing everybody. And he's going to dismantle, but they're going to dismantle using it as success. Now we're going to start seeing more and more and more praises from the mainstream media. I mean, when you think about the liberals, think about it. Now, they're not that big. Remember Dan Scavino, one of President Trump's right-hand men. Don't let the 10% make you think they're the 90. But remember it, when he said it best. Don't let the 10% think you're the 90. Well, but when all these liberals and rhinos start seeing CNN, MSNBC, NBC, ABC, CBS, and all of them, when you start seeing all these different organizations, Washington Examiner, Washington Post, all of them, when they start putting out these positive articles that are praising President Trump more and more and more and more, they can't. What are they going to do? They're going to try to build their own platform. Okay, they're already doing that now. It ain't working. And if you don't share it and if you don't comment on it with the algorithms, they can't grow any bigger. You won't give them that visibility, which goes back to educating yourself on how the internet works, how social media apps work. They work on codes. They're codes by coders and algorithms. When you comment, share, like, love, that runs those algorithms up. That's why you have all these, I call them oxygen thieves, out there still dominating the waves because people are still sharing all their stuff. In my page, I know I'm bragging tonight, but I'm the one with the blueprint. I'm 5 years ahead of some things. I'm 5 months ahead of some things, and I'm 5 weeks ahead of some things, and I'm 5 days ahead of some things. But it's not because it's me. It's because it's an application of the law, military that I specialize in, special operations, irregular warfare, all that, mixed with federal. But you're ahead of the curve. In my pages, 100 shares, maybe on one post. That's pathetic. You got people out there getting 5,000 and 10,000 shares on a baited post, meaning, what do you think about this? They're not giving any source, any empowerment, any skill set information whatsoever. And that's also a good, I call it climate tester, not the way the libtards use it, but it's a good climate tester to show President Trump as well, and Department of War, and all the different departments out there where people still are. They are still in spoon-fed. They want one or two little sentences. They don't want to think much, but they want to gripe a whole lot. All right. And that's not how we flip society. That's not how we have peace, true peace. If it's always going to look like this on social media, that's not true peace. If it's always going to be people whining, griping, fussing, complaining at the town halls, city councils, and all that, that's not true peace. That's not true application. That's the same old bull crap you've always had. And until everybody makes that applicable, it's going to look like that. Well, what that requires, the application, means you got to look crazy too. No matter who it is, and they don't matter if it's just one person that you're talking to. Don't matter. You plant that seed. But when you plant the right kind of seed, it's like a piece of corn. I got a preacher friend. He takes a piece of corn around with him everywhere in his pocket, and he pulls out that piece of corn. And he says, to you, this is just a kernel of corn. But in this seed right here, when it goes in the ground, one day it's going to be a stalk, because everything inside this seed has been designed to go in the ground, to grow, to be fertilized. All right. And then it grows up to be this stalk that produces more kernels of corn. And so if everybody will realize you're that kernel on that cob, all right, and inside of every single one of you is an application. But you get to choose if you do or if you don't. You get to choose that. But if you do, you got to fertilize it, which means you're feeding yourself. You're fertilizing, you're feeding yourself, but you got to empower yourself with the right things. If you accidentally or on purpose, but purpose means you're doing it on purpose, as we know, that'd be another word we're not going to use right now. But if you accidentally accept poison in your life, you're going to kill your growth, or you're going to stun it. And then you're going to have to do what? It's not applicable so much with a kernel of corn, except for if a farmer made a mistake to save his crop, he's going to have to find another application to make sure that it don't kill over and he lose that growth and lose that investment to try to get back right where he made his mistake, and then keep going to reach his harvest. It's the same thing with laws and orders. They're no good unless they have an application to them and enforcement to them. And so President Trump, he's not just a president and an enforcer, but he's the face of an operation that had to absolutely drain the swamp, flip the system, flip the mindsets, flip the rhetoric and all this other stuff, and then get people engaged in a cool way, not old fogey, and this is a bunch of bull. Oh, this is so boring, Derek Johnson. Oh my gosh, this is boring. I'm not some dude with a Fu Manchu looking like I'm 90 years old sitting there talking about back in the Revolutionary War and this. I'm not monotone like that. You got to make it cool to people, but you got to give the people what they want. And unfortunately, the public wants drama. So they're getting it drama fed. And that's why President Trump can say what he wants. That's why he says a lot of things. It's like people are like, what in the world did he just say? Well, what ends up happening? People do what? They talk about it. Can you believe he said? He don't mind. None of that matters. Don't worry about them getting mad at him. Be praising the genius, brilliancy of it, that it got them engaged. And now they're ready for what? A full gold and silver platter full of nothing but truth. And voila.
Wow, I love that, Derek. You covered. See, I tell you guys all the time, Derek covers a lot of information in one presentation. So, great job, Derek. You did cover a lot. And once again, you guys, Derek is with me every other Monday. So, Derek, we'll see you in 2 weeks. Are you still going to do your X Spaces? How often are you going to do those?
Well, I'm trying to incorporate.
Oh, we just lost you.
incorporate those in on a Thursday or a Friday, somewhere in there. But my life's been.
Oh, we're losing you. What timing? All right, everybody, until he comes back, Derek is with me every other Monday, 6:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. So we'll see Derek in 2 weeks, and then everybody come back here on Wednesday. We've got who do I have on Wednesday? We've got Silk, we've got Rick Anson, and Teresa. She's a new gal from a Cocoon.
Thing I said, no.
Water oxygen therapy. Oh no, you totally. I thought your phone died. But yeah, go ahead. We missed everything you said.
Oh no! I mean, no. My phone was swapped over to Bluetooth, and it wasn't in my truck. But I was just saying. But basically, I'm just trying to figure out my schedule and everything and reorchestrating that. But I'll be on there Thursdays, more than likely Thursdays. But we'll see.
Okay, cool. Awesome. So you heard that. Derek's gonna try to do X Spaces on Thursdays over there, guys. So if you're not over there following, check him out. Because this is new for Derek, not necessarily to do lives like this, but over on X, he's not really ever been on X. I've had him on X a couple times, and then you had those, screwballs that want to come in and attack him. So you know me, I don't deal with that stuff. So, but yeah, check him out, guys. And he's here every other Monday. So with that, everybody, Derek, we'll see you in 2 weeks.
I'll be around if good Lord's willing.
All right. Well, keep up the great work, my friend. You're doing a great job. And everybody here, have a great rest of your night. And we will talk to you soon. God bless. God bless, Derek.
See y'all soon.
Good night.